Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name's GBay99, and today I want to give you all my opinion on everything that's happened recently with Nien stepping down as the top laner from CLG. I just finished watching the interview he did with Travis talking about the reasons for him stepping down and how the community influenced his decision with all the negative feedback he'd received after a few LCS games where he played less than perfectly. I obviously can't speak on his behalf, and I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to tell you what he's feeling, and I can't even fathom what he must be feeling with all the negative criticism he'd received. But I do want to give the perspective of someone who does get judged on a fairly regular basis by the community and how it feels when you put so much work into something, whether it's being a pro player or writing an article or streaming or making a YouTube video, and how criticism really does affect you when you put so much effort into trying to entertain others, whether it be through pro play or some sort of content. I've never been as harshly criticized as Nien is being right now, or really ever come close to something like that in the community, but I have had a pretty awful experience with negative criticism, it's a bit unrelated, but I'm sure most of you remember about a year ago now, I went to Belgium and spent some time with Nien to stream some League of Legends, make some videos, create some content together, and have a good time over the period of about a month. We weren't too set on the time at the start, between a month and 3 months' time. I had a lot of fun while I was there, and it was really awesome experiencing the other cultures and having a lot of fun with Nien in general. He's a really nice guy in person. But I had some issues pop up back home, back in America, and I was put under a lot of stress about a month into my stay there. Suddenly, I was under a lot of stress, I had a lot to deal with, and it was a very, very frustrating time for me since I was in a foreign country and I was thousands and thousands of miles from anyone who I could confide in or sort of work through my issues with. The issues themselves weren't monumental, and I obviously worked through any problems that popped up while I was staying with him. But one night, I was under a lot of stress, and because I was in a country where it was legal for me to drink, I ended up getting drunk one night. Unfortunately, this was a night where I had actually not eaten pretty much anything for the day, I think. I had wolfed down a bunch of cheese because they brought me some cheese that they wanted me to try. And I was drinking a lot while I was streaming, and it ended with me puking on stream. As soon as I did, I apologized profusely, even while drunk. I didn't say a word that didn't start with, "I'm so sorry," afterwards, until I finally ended up passing out. But that was hands down the most embarrassing experience I've ever had. I puked in front of about 600 people who were watching my stream, and 2,500 that were watching his. It was an awful experience. It was just terrible, but the worst part of it was how everyone reacted afterwards. I wasn't trying to be a rude guest, or I just had some stuff that I was dealing with that ended with me making a bad mistake of getting way too drunk, and I got a lot of people telling me that I was an evil human being for doing this. There were so many death threats, there were so many people saying that I should just kill myself. If they were me, they would kill themselves out of shame and embarrassment. A lot of people said a lot of negative things about me that I really, really took hard at the time because I was still fairly new to making videos. I'd only been making videos for about 6 months, and I'd never received this sort of negative feedback. Now, let me remind you, that group of people who were saying all these awful, hurtful things to me, that was maybe 100 people who said that. I may have read 100 comments like that, which was way too much. I should never read that many comments, but in the end, it made me feel awful about myself, and that was a relatively small scale. Compare this to Nien, who played badly a few games in the LCS, and he suddenly has 250,000 people who were watching him at the time, and so many negative comments must have been thrown out at him on Reddit, on Twitter, and I cannot even imagine what he must have been feeling. Now, in my situation, no matter how I tried to view it, I couldn't just get through it by having a thick skin, and I think people who say you shouldn't pay attention to these people don't really understand how frustrating it can be. you run across these comments no matter what you do pretty much on the internet, since everything is shared and it's so easy to tweet at someone or get someone to view your comment if you take any sort of criticism in the community to try and better yourself as a player or as a content creator. But in the end, what really hurt was the fact that I knew I made a mistake, and then people pointed that out. They pointed that out in incredibly hurtful ways. They pointed it out in just monstrous, evil ways, telling me I should kill myself. That's a terrible thing to tell someone. But in the end, the way you view that is you don't say, this guy's an idiot, he's telling me to kill myself. That's blowing things way out of proportion. You view that as, he has a right to be angry at me because I made a mistake. It's very easy to brush off comments that just say, go die, if they're in the middle of thousands upon thousands of people saying you did well. But if you make a mistake, a lot of people dislike whatever it is that you've done or that you've created because of it, then you take all the negative criticism to heart because you realize you made a mistake and you only want to reprimand, you only want to make everything better. You just wish that you could go back and fix everything. And the people who are ridiculed like this in the community only want to do good. Let me remind you that. You put so much work and effort into trying to please everyone, whether it's just making them laugh with a comedy video, whether it's trying to impress them and make them happy, make them proud of you if you're a pro player, or just trying to inform someone with a video or article or Reddit post or whatever. You put so much hard work and effort into it, and then if you slip up once and you make one bad mistake that ends up getting so much negative criticism thrown at you, it really hurts, and it's a really awful thing to experience because you've invested so much time and because you're doing it out of the love of the game. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't criticize someone for their mistakes. I'm not saying that you shouldn't downvote a video on YouTube if it's a bad video. But in the end, you really should be careful about the difference between constructive criticism and straight up bullying. It's an awful, awful experience to feel like there's hundreds of people or thousands of people out in the world who hate you for working on trying to make something happen for this game that you love so much. It's an awful experience, and I really do advise that you be careful. Not that you don't criticize, but please do be careful about keeping things in proportion and not actively making someone feel god-awful about themselves. Anyway though, sorry for the depressing video. I hope you all enjoyed nonetheless, and I hope that maybe this made you a little bit wiser and at least make you think twice before you criticize or say some sort of hateful comment towards the next pro that you disagree with, or the next content creator, the next writer, YouTuber, whatever. Again, there obviously needs to be negative criticism, but be careful that it doesn't turn into bullying or something awful like that. I have more content coming out, always, but I hope you're looking forward to that. Until then, though, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.